Welcome to Human Anatomy Prep. I'm Ty Gardner, and I'll be your instructor. My goal is to provide information and study ideas that will help you be successful in human anatomy and in related courses such as human physiology. I will begin each lecture with a mind map like the one above. In this case, the mind map outlines and organizes the topics of this course. Our first task will be to learn some basic terminology. This will allow us to discuss the other topics in the course. Our primary goal in that section will be to learn how to discuss the orientation of the body in space and to identify basic body regions, cavities, and membranes. Mind maps can also show connections. For example, cells and their products form tissues. We will have a brief discussion of cells, covering information you likely learned in grade school, so that we can understand tissues. Tissues are formed by multiple cells working together. Understanding the tissues that make up the body will help us understand how it functions. Once we understand the basics, we'll be ready to explore the systems of the body one at a time. The nervous and cardiovascular systems will require more than one lecture. After completing the reproductive system, we will briefly touch on development, investigating some of the steps leading from a fertilized egg to a baby. Before we jump into anatomy, we'll take a little time to discuss what you are getting into and how to be successful. First, we want to know if anatomy is a hard class. The answer is yes and no. It can be hard. There is a lot to learn. Words can be hard to say and spell, not to mention that they sometimes sound the same. For example, the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, the big wrinkled thing. The cerebellum is the second largest part and hangs off the brainstem. Spelling can change meaning. The ileum, I-L-E-U-M, is part of the small intestine. The ilium, I-L-I-U-M, is a hip bone. We also have to learn parts of parts. For example, the small intestine has 3 regions: the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, the I-L-E-U-M one. It doesn't have to be hard. Each part is easy. Making connections helps. In order, the 3 regions of the small intestine are the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Anatomy is fun. You are learning about you. It is likely relevant to your future career. Plus, it is fun to say a lot of these words. For example, metacarpophalangeal. Studying is important. The first thing you need to know is that you will study more for anatomy than you have for other classes. Probably a lot more. I have provided a study guide to make sure you have the information you need and know what you are learning. You will have to fill some things in. A general guideline is to study 3 hours for each hour of class. You may need more than that. If so, put in the work to get the reward. I'm a big fan of reading, but reading textbooks isn't the key to success. I suggest reading each chapter or section once. If you like to highlight or take notes, do so. Writing is the real key. Do it. Take a look above to get an idea of what I'm talking about. I've outlined some terms of direction, just a chunk of info that I can handle in one sitting. My goal was to link related terms, like medial and lateral, while separating them from other pairs. I also provided a brief description of each. I start by copying my notes, but I should be able to do this from memory before an exam. If I can't, I'm not ready. Repetition is key. 5 times or 20 times. It's up to you. Flashcards are great if you take the bus or train. Writing them is the most useful part. You'll have to buy a lot of 3x5 cards, so decide if they are for you or not. Finally, work with a group. Quiz each other, cross-check notes, and call people if they miss a class or group study session. After all, healthcare is about teamwork. I hope this has been helpful. Your next stop is the video on terms of direction.